everyone, welcome to V8 Online's live coverage of Thursday night IMSA. We're here for round 10 of this awesome series. Tonight we are coming from Interlagos in Brazil, Jay Kennedy, and alongside me once again tonight we've got Bo Albert. Bo, g'day mate, welcome along once again.
Hey Jay, I'm always excited to get back to IMSA racing, but a little bit more so tonight. We're heading to Brazil for the Autódromo José Carlos Pache circuit, which is an all-time classic in my eyes. Ayrton Senna stuck in 6th gear in 1991, wrestling his McLaren to hometown glory. Hamilton in 2008, which left the world asking if that was really Glock. And more recently, Sebastian Vettel not only doing a 180 at turn 3 on the first lap, but turning the race around 180 with a come-from-behind championship victory. The IMSA series has already been incredibly exciting. This circuit knows how to take it that one step further.
Be an awesome race once again tonight. My apologies, I'm having a couple of overlay issues. They're crashing on me, which is never fun at all, but we'll try and push through as best we can. Drivers currently in qualifying at the moment. Left in qualifying for these guys. We've got 38 cars out on the out in the race tonight. We've got 13 cars in the DP class. We've got 16 cars in GT and 9 in GT3. So a pretty big field of drivers for us ahead tonight. I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be an exciting race, and we have a lot of big names as well. In your DP field, you just have to look at the top two guys there, Carlo Labardi and Luis Paulo Gallen. Both are in the top 4 in the championship in the world for the IMSA series currently. Two very high-level guys, and we expect to see them having an awesome fight. In your GTEs, Gianni Vecchio, Blake Neck, Elliot Biddle, and in your GT3s, guys like John Peasnick and Ross Rizzo, who have performed valiantly throughout the entire series. It's going to be a fantastic race with a high-quality field.
Sure will. Really looking forward to it. Blake Neck, we saw last week, steal pole right at the very last second in qualifying. I think it was like 4 or 5 seconds left on the clock before he snagged pole away. So we'll have a look at him as he comes through the final couple of corners onto this amazing front stretch. I won't call it a straight, it's a stretch because it's definitely not straight.
Yeah, not at all, and it's a big uphill climb too. The TV cameras can sometimes be a bit deceptive with it, but this is actually quite a large climb that the Blake Neck Mercedes is going up right now. It's a huge stretch. He goes for the line, trying to use the minimum amount of straight he possibly can. And he did a brilliant lap last week, but sadly, it's going to be 5th on the grid for him in GT3.
Driver that we don't see in this car ever, Cameron Dance, our fellow commentator, just completed his second run. He start at the moment 7th in that class. A couple of guys left to do laps. Got Gabriel Ruse on screen. Yet to post a lap time. Oh, sorry, has posted a lap time, 1:25.2.
He'll be looking to better on this lap. He's not going to be better enough. He's going to take to a lawnmower and unfortunately hit the barrier as well. So that's his lap done. So unfortunate for him.
And Fitzpatrick on screen hasn't done a lap as of yet. Coming through the last section of the track. A 45-minute race ahead for these guys tonight. So a nice, decent length.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to have a pit stop as well, which should shake things up. Fitzpatrick coming across the line there to do a 24.9, goes 4th in class, which is important because he's 2nd in the championship in the world. So being in 4th place up at the front of the DP field is what he needs, but he has one more lap. Let's see what he can do on this one as well.
Might not have enough time before the clock hits 0. We've also got James Eates coming across the line to complete his first flying lap, which will actually be the first time we've seen every single car in the field do a qualifying run.
Yeah, and that's a good thing as well. More cars up the grid, which means more cars fighting each other at the start of the race, which always makes things more exciting. So it's fantastic to see we're finally getting that in this category.
Or with Fitzpatrick, I think the clock will be right on 0 when he crosses the line, so it'll be very, very close.
All the curb there. This is a very technical section of track, and especially in these Corvettes, you can very easily snag a front left tire and lock up and send yourself flying wide and ruining your lap time, but he does a fantastic job of that, using all the exit curb there. Only one braking zone left on the brakes, turns it in, hits the apex curb now on the throttle as fast as he can and fly up this hill. What can he do? It's going to be close with the line. He has 10 seconds to get across here.
I think he'll cross it with about a second left on the clock, so this lap will count. And Fitzpatrick coming across the line right now. Don't think he improved.
Oh,
No.
very consistent.
There's a checkered flag right on cue. So we'll run through the starting grid. Your DP field will be led away by Carlo Labardi, then Lewis Gallon in second, Clint Smith in third, Sam Fitzpatrick fourth, Alan Holgerson in fifth, Gabriel Ruse sixth, Wayne Hewitt seventh, Cam Dance in eighth, Samuel Dakey in ninth, Adam Hyland 10th, Tate Marchie 11th position, Oliver Fullerton in 12th, and the last car in the
In your GTE field, it's going to be led away by Gianni Vecchio, who steals pole away from Dustin Hickman. Patrick Christoph will be off third with Andy Gordon, who holds a pro license, a very talented driver, on the second row of the grid in fourth. Fabrice Cornelius is joined on the third row of the grid in GTEs by Elliot Biddle. Lewis Goodway and Yunya Kitara will be 7th and 8th. Tony Baird and ERT Hornet Martin Silvassi will be 9th and 10th. On the 6th row of the grid in GTEs will be David Jellings and Paul Mansell, with Dennis Feidler, Leon Tander, Alan Opulok, and Claude Lezard rounding out your GTE field.
Then we're off to the GT3s. We've got Marcian Spizgak. Definitely got that wrong again. Then John Peisnick, Reese Goosehill, Blake Neck, Jesus Montiel, Ross Rizzo, Delwad Nowaki, Matthew Mann, and Matt Morris. 38 cars in this field tonight. Really, really cool to see a massive field of cars once more, getting back to the glory days we saw at the start of the season once again.
Yeah, absolutely. This series is going from strength to strength recently, and even when we have had low numbers, the action's been high. So with a huge grid tonight, things are going to get very, very intense very quickly.
We will for sure. Really looking forward to this. 45 minutes of racing, as we said. We will see a pit stop around this race tonight. Awesome track in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Drivers getting their good lucks out of the way, and a lot of them will need to get their good lucks in there because it's a very tough start to the lap. Of course, you have the big downhill braking zone into turn one, which then turns into a chicane and then a long left-hander. It's a very tough opening sequence of corners, and it's very easy to gain positions, but it's also very easy to gain the lawn mowing ability and go into the grass. So drivers have to be using their heads through here to get through cleanly, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out.
Looking around about a 32, maybe a 33 lap race tonight. How these guys go in regards to pit stop times and the like. Decent length race in regards to the number of laps, so I don't think we'll see anything too crazy too early because these guys have done a lot of racing in this series, especially the guys up towards the front. So they know that they have to make sure that the attrition levels are high to get there at the end.
Yeah, and with we'll call this endurance racing. It's 45 minutes. It's definitely not a short sprint to the line, but in order to win, first you must finish. So these drivers have to make sure that they can make it to the finish. So hopefully we won't see anything too crazy, like you said. But we all know racing drivers, once we're getting ready to that green light or the green flag, tensions start to build, and they get a little bit excited at times.
They definitely do. The field has fairly well spread, I should say, in regards to their classes. So we won't see too many incidents, especially with the GTE cars coming onto the back of the DPs. They're giving them plenty of room as the DP field gets ready to go. Pace car pulls in right now. Receive the green flag in just a moment. Looks like they're away. Oh, contact between Smith and Gallen before the start-finish line.
Very aggressive from the TTR driver, who unfortunately gets into Clint Shane Smith. So is there any damage to both of those cars? Now we have our GTEs, who are almost 2x2, almost 3 wide in places in that midfield. For GTE, looks like everyone in DP has got away cleanly. Will the GTEs be able to follow suit? It looks like so far we have touched wood, as we now look at your GT3s. Very close.
Not sure who that was. Reese Gersiel, but we'll go back to the front. Fitzpatrick applying a lot of pressure to Lewis Gallon.
All very tight at the start of this race. Drivers making sure they stay with one another. It's a long race. You don't need to go for crazy moves at the start of the race, but you need to try and set yourself up as well as you can. And these drivers at the moment look like they're all safe at the moment. Clint Shane Smith is still holding up with these DP leaders though, so hopefully the damage is not too severe.
battle at the front of the DP field is probably the best battle on track at the moment. Second, third, and fourth, very, very close. Smith has dropped back to 8th position, so you want to try and hang in there. Maybe do an early pit stop, get a little bit of damage fixed, because that car is noticeably damaged on the left-hand side.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent hit. I'm not entirely sure how that actually occurred with Paulo Gallen making quite an aggressive move, and I'm not sure why, but regardless, it's happened, and Clint Shane Smith just needs to put it behind him as best he can and put in another fantastic recovery drive.
How's that from Cameron Dance around the outside through turns 1 and 2? Made it stick. Now Adam Hyland getting a run coming down at the back straight. Seeing a battle for the lead. Lewis Gallon, battle for second. Lewis Gallon, Sam Fitzpatrick side by side. With Gabriel Roos getting in too.
Gallon dives it up the inside and gets the hold onto that position for just another lap, but perhaps he has damage as well, because he is not holding onto the back of Labate very well, and he has a train behind him that is just waiting to pounce.
Definitely dropped pace from Labate. Elliot Biddle applying a lot of pressure to Fabrice Canales as well. Oh, a bit of contact between them too.
Looks like all the cars in front of them have got away cleanly, so GTE is relatively spread out, apart from Biddle and Cornelius who are going at it.
Eisnick in second position with Blake Neck behind Ross Rizzo, but at the front, Martin pulling away once more. Clint Smith is now in the pits. That damage is obviously too much.
That's a real shame for Clint, because he had a fantastic performance early in the race at Montreal. Looks like he could have potentially been a favourite to win that race, and sadly here in Interlagos his race is over before it's really begun.
On board with Sam Fitzpatrick. Dropped a little bit of time from Gallon, but right on his tail, Gabriel Roos is applying a lot of pressure right now.
Yeah, Roos is very close. Fitzpatrick taking a wide line into this corner. There's a lot of lines you can take through there. You can take it wide and really use the wide curbs here at Interlagos, so you can take it tight, try and maximize your exit. So we're seeing two different driving styles around here, as we can see Roos getting so close under braking, but Fitzpatrick just able to get the legs on the exit of the corner.
Being Lewis Goodway facing the wrong direction. We'll try and get a Cup Price Racing replay and see exactly what happened there. Bang.
Oh, that's a weird one. He's just under brakes, locked the rear tyres, it looks like, and it's flicked him the complete opposite direction to the corner. That's an odd one.
It's strange. It might have got locked the brakes up on the painted line on the outside there. Lewis Gallon's just done the fastest lap of the race. The battle from second back to fourth on the GTE field starting to get nice and tight as well.
Everything's beginning to bunch up now. We have our DP leaders closing up, our GTE leaders are beginning to come together, and there's only 4/10 between our two GT3 race leaders as well, so they may have spread themselves out at the start, but it's all beginning to become an accordion effect, and it's all coming together again.
We like to see pit stops will really play key here in this one, the way this is panning out right now. Paul Mansell side by side is through on, sorry, Tony Baird's just got past on Paul Mansell. That's 8th and 9th in the GTE class.
As just bring your attention back to DP, Luis Paulo Gallen is really beginning to close in on Labate. At the start of the lap it was 8/10 and it's now down to about 5.
It's just ticking down even lower. It's down to 4/10 of a second now, and he's in the draft, so he's going to close up even more coming into turn 1. I don't think he'll be close enough to make a move as they start lap 5. Could be.
Big look at it.
Definitely thought about it. Oh, as Labate runs wide, Gallen's going to get run out of here into the next section.
This is going to be on into turn 4. Look at the exit Gallon has. He's going to pull alongside. Labardi tries to cover him, but this might be a done deal if he cannot hold Gallon's pace under brakes.
Done.
Or is it?
Or maybe not. Oh, Labardi had to get out of the throttle there to make sure there was no contact as they crossed over once more. So Gallon now assumes the race lead outright. DP class. Fitzpatrick's closing in while these guys are battling too.
DP once again providing the goods as it has done so many times throughout the series. We thought at the start of the season that perhaps the GTE would be the field to watch, but these DPs have really sprung a surprise.
Been a lot closer than a lot of people were expecting, and the real championship battle's been in this class as well. So pretty big gaps throughout the field in the GTE class, especially at the front between the leaders. I think Cameron Dance putting some pressure on. Starting to apply a lot of pressure to Gabriel Ruse.
Yeah, he's closed up quite a lot because at the start of the lap he was a second behind, and now he could potentially have a move done into turn 1 if he can continue that slipstream. So Cameron Dance, he might be a commentator, but he's doing a fantastic job as a race car driver.
Most of the commentators here are pretty decent. There's only one I know that isn't, so.
Don't be mean to Reese.
No, Reese is a lot better than me. Fitzpatrick's got to run here too.
So Labardi beginning to fall back through the field. So we see this a lot with Gallon. He sometimes has a strong start and then fades away pretty quickly in the stint with tyre pressures. Has Gallon potentially learnt from his tyre pressure errors at the start of the season, but Labardi is beginning to fall foul of it.
Fabrice Canilez had an incident at turn 1. We're just getting a cut price racing replay of that now. Not sure if he was assisted into an incident or not. Possibly was. Bit of netcode contact, but I think Canilez might have been running a bit too wide there for any avoiding action from the other driver. I'm not quite sure who that was. Go back live.
Deep as well. There's actually another good battle happening at the moment for 8th on track, as we have Samuel Doki under quite a fair bit of pressure from Adam Highland, and Tate Marchi is not far behind either. So DP has quite a few battles happening all through the field, as Adam Highland almost touching the inside guardrail as he now thinks about a move, weaving left and right, has to go to the outside into turn 1. Can't quite go around the outside into turn 1, so he'll hold formation, but DP is getting quite feisty at the start of the race here.
Something's happened to Oliver Fullerton. He was in a pretty intense battle with James Eates, who is also into the pits now. Just getting a cut price racing replay of what happened with those guys. Oh, they've made contact with each other. Go back a little bit further and see if we can pick up the actual moment, which has happened through the last corner. On the exit of the last corner, Fullerton's looped it around. Eates had nowhere to go but into the rear of Fullerton's car. So they are both in the pits, out of the race by the looks. Back live. Adam Highland putting a lot of pressure on Dakey.
Yeah, this DP field has quite a few battles happening throughout, because Gabriel Roos, Cameron Dance have now been joined by Alan Holgerson. So we have 3 battles full of 3 cars in each in your DP field. So fantastic racing in this class so far.
Yeah, it's good to see. The battle at the front of the GTE field has got very, very close too. The top 4 now separated by 1.4 seconds. That's happened out of nowhere, because Hickman was well and truly away. A fairly big lead.
He was well up the road. So I'll go back and have a look for that, but something's happened to Hickman. That's very odd, because he had almost a 2.5 second lead at one point. Oh, there was actually, he got involved in a chaos with Oliver Fullerton, unfortunately, and that's hampered him, and unfortunately, he's now lost the race lead to Gianni Vecchio. So, all change in your GTE class. Dustin Hickman might have thought he could run away with this race, but out of nowhere, curveball's been thrown and is in a 4-car battle for the lead of this race.
Another battle starting to heat up too is the battle for the lead at GT3 is Peisnick. Has a look at Marcy coming to turn 1 and thought about making a move. Battles the whole way through the field. This is fantastic.
Interlagos never fails to produce fantastic racing, and all three classes are really going at it right now. John Piesnik, an incredibly talented driver, looking for a way past Martin Skrospach, and right now he can't do it, but these are two incredibly quick drivers, as you can see by the amount they've gapped third place driver Blake Neck. So these cars out front of GT3 are incredibly quick, but they're stuck together right now.
Great to see battles the whole way through the field, is in every single class as well. Some of the races we've only seen battles in one class. The battle for the lead is on in every single class right now as we hit the 12-minute mark of this race. We're about a quarter of the way through.
Only 12 minutes in, but I don't think there's a single driver in this field that is not sweating right now, because this race has been mental intense.
Look at Sam Takey and Adam Hyland. Oh, almost contact between them. Side by side here, so 8th and 9th in class. Hyland will get this position done.
Oh, very sideways on the exit, and that has just opened the door for Samuel Dakey to snatch that position back. So Hyland almost had it, but running wide onto the AstroTurf, that's never the optimal racing line.
Go back to the battle at the front of GTE once more. Hickman now getting a bit of pressure from Moser. Patrick Christoph Moser here on screen in the black Ferrari. Dustin Hickman P2 now. Led for a long time.
Oh, your GT3s, it is on for the race lead. Marcin having to defend heavily against Piesnik, who was all over the back of him out of turn 3. He's going to be able to hold that inside line into turn 4, but John Piesnik is really beginning to apply the blowtorch onto the back now.
Here he goes. Back on the outside here, but if he can hold it, he might be able to over-under. Try it. Won't be quite close enough, though. Great battle, though, from these guys. Oh, a little bit of a stake. He's looking to capitalise. Won't be able to do it yet, though.
Feel sorry for Marcin. He's under an incredible amount of pressure right now, and he's doing a fantastic job, though, to hold John Piesnik at bay as they're now coming through a technical section of track. Piesnik just needs to get as close as he possibly can and try and make something happen into turn 1, but he's just got a bit of oversteer there, so he's going to have to try in the next lap. Oh, Labate! Labate's run wide, and he's going to allow Sam Fitzpatrick to go through, so there's a change up the front of your DP class there.
Price Racing replay of that, because we definitely missed that pass happening. Dakey and Hyland are still going at it. On board with Fitzpatrick. See the move being completed. Almost looped it. Labate, so lucky to save it and only lose the time that he did. Go back to the lead again for GT3. Little Piesnik's dropped a little bit of pace at the moment, but I think he's just trying to set himself up once more.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll be trying to make a move happen because it's not going to happen easy, as I'm just looking at your DP field and Cam Dance is actually running to the back of Roos as they were fighting through the opening segment of corners. Dance nearly has an overlap now, but he has to watch out for Alan Holgersen, who's also in this battle. They're going to go side by side into turn 4. Who's going to be the braver on the brakes? It's going to be Roos, and he's going to hold that position, but he's running a little bit wide. So now Dance is going to have to run into this next incredibly fast sequence of corners. Dance all the way on the curb, gets the inside. Now all he has to do is slip it up the inside and make sure he can try and get that overlap. And he has almost done that, but Roos is stuck in there, but runs wide, and a spot's going to be gifted to Cam Dance.
Work to get that finally completed there for Dance. Now in P4 in class. Oh, and right on cue, he's almost looped it.
DPs are playing for keeps tonight. This is incredible stuff.
They're all playing for keeps the whole way through the field. It's awesome. Bruce has now got Holgersen behind. But not far off the pit window opening for the DP field. Lewis Gallon's actually in the pits already. interesting considering he was in the race lead. Jump in the pits early. Bit of a surprising strategy. We've seen most guys go long race.
I think what that would be from Gallen is he thinks he's much quicker than the cars behind him. Get out of traffic, make sure they don't have a slipstream on him, and in clean air he can try and get a bit of a buffer when they take their pit stops, and they'll no longer be in the slipstream, and he'll be under no pressure for the final part of the race. That's the plan, but we have to see if it pays off.
Always happy in saying that he has come out ahead of the entire GT field, but have a look at now the race lead in DP. Carlo Labardi right on the tail of Sam Fitzpatrick. This is now for the lead.
Yeah, Labardi was ahead of Fitzpatrick just a few laps ago, made that mistake, so there's no doubt he wants that spot back. And the Thrustmaster Movano racing car looks fantastic, but he would think it looks much better in second place. These cars are pretty sensitive to slipstream, so we'll see if he can make anything happen up the hill, because he's definitely well and truly in the draft of Sam Fitzpatrick. He's in the sweet spot for draft. It's just whether he has the gear ratios set up, the aero set up, and if he can get this done into turn one, he's going to have a look. He's got the car there, he's got the overlap. Now it's a battle of who can break latest, and that is easily Carlo Labardi as he slots through to take the race lead and DP back.
Gabriel Roos has got himself out of that battle that was going on. He's jumped into the pits. Patrick now is going to try and come back on Labardi here now. Battle at the front of G3 is still staying stable at around about that half-second mark right now, so we'll keep another eye on that. We'll keep one eye on that while we're watching the battle at the front of the DP field. It's unusual, the GTE field's the field that's not getting any TV time. They're normally the ones getting the most of it.
Yeah, definitely. Gianni Vecchio has managed to stretch out a bit of a lead now over the second place, but we're not really going to say who is in second place because there's a bit of a battle happening at the moment between Hickman and Patrick Christoph Moser. Those two are very, very close together, and just behind we have Andy Gorton, the Pro World Championship driver, who's beginning to come under pressure from Elliot Biddle now. So for second place right now, it's beginning to heat up in GTE.
Yeah, that gap's closed up quite a bit over the last couple of laps. It did stretch out to about 8 or 9 tenths a couple of laps ago, but now it's back into smaller numbers once more. Patrick's also closing up on Labardi once more as well.
And he's going to have a few opportunities beginning to present themselves as we're beginning to get into that phase of the race where we have GT3 traffic, and they're going to be right into it in this next sector, and they have your GT3 race leaders, John Piesnik and Martin Skreisbach, right in front of them. So we'll see if Sam Fitzpatrick can benefit on that and if he can get past Carlo Labardi, but it's about to get very interesting.
Traffic always makes things more fun for us watching, not so much for the drivers. You see Labardi start to work his way through. 7th place car of Reese lets him go fairly easy. I think he's not involved in a battle at the moment, so quite friendly. A lot of these guys are pretty experienced in the GT field. Understand that the guys that are coming up behind are the race leaders. So when they're actually in a battle, they won't fight, won't put much pressure on. They'll actually make it reasonably easy for the guys to get through. Until they get right to the first 2 or first 3 guys, I don't think that'll be as easy as they did right now. Labardi and Fitzpatrick. Patrick's definitely gained out of that.
Yeah, definitely, and he'll have a massive slipstream now up this hill, and have a look into turn 1. We've seen it a few times tonight, so this very well could be who is not leading on the final lap of this race if this is how it stays.
Labardi scrapes the wall as he's coming through the kick as well. Last of the late breakers into turn 1. Labardi holds station. I think Patrick got out of that a little early because of the traffic that was involved just ahead. I didn't wanted to make a move before they're coming up. Nice and clean, nice and under control. A little bit of a run here though. Quite close enough.
There'll be plenty more of opportunities throughout the race. We still have 25 minutes, so we're not even halfway through this IMSA race so far, so plenty of opportunities left to present themselves. And we can't forget as well, whilst these two are scrapping their way through GT3 traffic, we have Luis Polo-Gallen in clean air, and hopefully for him, he'll be trying to get some fast lap times and jump these guys well and truly. But we'll have to wait and see how this race all pans out, because right now we have battles throughout the entire field.
Something's happened to Dustin Hickman as well. He's now dropped a fair way behind the rest of those guys that he was battling with. We'll go to a cut price race replay and see if we can pick it up.
Oh. Got involved with a GT3 car. That's the worrying thing for all these drivers, is sometimes it's not your mistake that can put an end to your race, and unfortunately for Hickman, the traffic does, obviously all these cars do brake at different rates. A GT3 brakes a little bit later than a GTE and so forth, so have to be very aware when you're racing around the other class what their strengths are and where their weaknesses are.
Got the Cup Cross Racing replay of that then, and yeah, the GT3 car was not expecting the GT car to brake anywhere near the position. Go back to the front. Patrick's now right on the tail of Labardi once more. Interesting too with the lap times for these front guys. Around about between 7 tenths and 1.7 seconds quicker with Gallon being out of the traffic and out in clean air.
That's huge. So that's a big gain for Luis Paulo Gallon, and if all goes to plan for him, he'll be resuming this race lead once Labardi and Fitzpatrick and all the other DPs pit. But as we just saw with the Hickman just before, you can't say it's over until that checkered flag falls.
Past the halfway point in this race as well, so 22 and a bit minutes left now. Lap of the race, we'll have 16 more or thereabouts.
GT3 race leader Marcin Skryzpak is in the pits.
For the incoming DP cars and decided to get out of the way. Saying that Peisnick probably got past at the most appropriate time for him. Because I don't think he lost any time at all because it passed him on the straight quite easily.
Having a look at your GTE field, and I have to say, Elliot Biddle's a man on a mission before. We saw just a few moments ago he was in 5th place, and with that incident with Hickman, and he's recently got past Gordon, he's now been promoted to 3rd place, and he's looking quite aggressive behind the back of Patrick Christoph Moser.
Very, very good job at the moment. So.
Oh!
But that's Wayne Hewitt coming past them. That's helping Biddle as well.
So Biddle making quite a few positions at this phase of the race, but I'm not sure anyone in GTE field, assuming everything goes to plan, will be catching Gianni Vecchio. He's put out a fantastic lead of nearly 4 seconds now.
Quite a big gap Vecchio's got. Saying that gap's sort of stretching as well. Labardi out now to 7 tenths of a second. Peisnick is 5 seconds ahead of Blake Neck. Obviously, the guy on Marcin, where he field in relation to Peisnick when Peisnick makes his stop.
Which won't be on this lap, so Peisnick stays out for another lap, so this could be working to Marcin's favour with the undercut.
Marcin, that's got fairly much a clean track ahead of him. Speaking of traffic, Lewis Gallon starting to come up onto the back of some back mark, which is a little bit tougher to pass. The GT3s and the GT have been passing him.
Oh, and there's chaos in front of him too!
Contact ahead of him, that's been Matthew Mann. Up price racing replay. A bit hard to see on the angle that we did have. Killed by Kate Marchi. Go back live to Elliot Biddle putting pressure on Patrick Christopher now. Might be close enough to have a dive here.
Thinks about it, but just stays back in line behind 19 car. So these two definitely beginning to get quite feisty against each other. And these two are both obviously yet to take a pit stop. I don't think any of our GTEs really have so far. So there's still plenty of strategy to play for. So Biddle might not do this on track, he might do it in the pit lane. But right now I think he wants to do it on track.
You always want to do it on track if you can. If not, then you play the pit game. But had a couple of cars in the lane in the GT field, but Paul Mansell was up towards the body, and John Peisnick in the lane now. So see how this plays out. Marcin just coming through the final corner. So it's actually going to be very, very close once Peisnick comes out. It's going to be how long it's going to take him to get down the pit lane.
It's a unique pit lane exit around here as Peisnick leaves his pit box, and Marcin now just coming into view off the start-finish line. It's an interesting pit exit here because you actually are still driving alongside the track, but you're in your own separate little lane. So right now, Peisnick is actually ahead of Marcin, but he has to deal with this incredibly tight pit lane exit. So Marcin, with the better exit, might be able to try something into turn 4, but at the moment it looks like Peisnick might actually have jumped for this GT3 race lead.
Pit stop times around about 2 seconds quicker for the stop for Peisnick. Stop for him definitely helped. Blake Neck now assumes the race lead in GT3, but like says, but yet to make his stop, as is Ross Rizzo, Ryan Roski, and Matthew Mann. So 4 cars left, GT3 left to make their stops.
Meanwhile, out front in DP, it's close once again. Fitzpatrick is millimeters away from the gearbox of Carlo Labardi's Corvette, who locks up into turn 1, feeling the pressure there in the Thrustmaster Movano racing Corvette. And once again, these two have been locked together most of this race.
Been a great battle, these guys, whether they've been battling for the lead, second or third. Been highly entertaining between all of these guys, or these two guys, I should say, up the front. Hopefully it continues after the pit stops, but say that Fitzpatrick will be a shorter pit stop, really based on the amount of drafting he's been doing.
Yeah, you would definitely think so, but Labardi does look pretty quick in these conditions though, and he has no draft and he's still pulling out pretty fantastic lap times. So if Fitzpatrick were to jump him in the pit stops, it definitely would not be over by any means.
Looking at the pit stop times for the drivers in DP, around about 25 seconds to reverse the pit lane, 25, 26 seconds. The gap between Labardi and Gallon, 24 seconds. So it's going to be pretty close by the time that these guys come out. I think they nearly need to pit now. I think Fitzpatrick should pit earlier than Labardi if he can. Not far until the pit window's closed.
Yeah, definitely not. These cars running a limited fuel tank, so they can't make it the entire way of the race. So you do have to make a pit stop at some phase. It's just when you make it, and the decision's been made for Carlo Labardi, but he's going to actually be stuck behind a GTE who has taken the pit lane entry very cautiously.
That's hurt Labardi's approach into lane. Gallon coming through the last couple of kinks. Our front stretch. Labardi's just getting stopped. Going to come out pretty much together.
Gallon will take that place though. I think that could have been a lot closer, but that GTE really affected Labardi. So even though Gallon is ahead of Labardi, keep an eye on Fitzpatrick because I feel that could be much, much closer.
Now, field in T3 class they are all in the pits. I was about to say that the battle between Patrick Mosa and Elliot Biddle was heating up, but Moses ended that and entered the pits. So Biddle now out with some fresh air. Gianni Vecchio though, 4.6 second gap back to Elliot Biddle.
Yeah, he was leading at the start of the race, then fell back to second, and now he's back to the race lead. Vecchio's had a bit of an exciting race, but he looks comfortable out in the first place in class right now. So good job by Gianni Vecchio. But I have to turn your attention back to DP, because Sam Fitzpatrick, he's entering pit lane.
I think the rest of the field in this class will enter one around. I don't think it's on it as well. Right from Cam Dance to maintain that position up towards the pointy end.
He's done a fantastic job. These cars are not easy in the slightest to drive, and he's been holding it up the front very well. But we have Luis Paulo Gallon now on the brakes into turn 1, and Fitzpatrick currently is ahead.
Going to be a lot closer than we were expecting between Fitzpatrick and Gallon. Fitzpatrick's going to come out ahead, but Gallon will have the run coming down this straight. Patrick will tuck right in behind. And that Patrick might be able to hold on here. And he is. And Fitzpatrick is now your race leader. Very, very quick
Fantastic.
pit stop from him too.
Yep, that was definitely what did it. He had clean air on his in-lap. He had a very short pit stop from the slipstreaming, and he wasn't impeded on pit entrance. That's what's got him that race lead, but he does have cool tyres. He didn't take tyres, but he has cool tyres from being stopped in the pit lane. And right now, Luis Paulo Gallon on freshly warmed tyres is closing that gap very, very quickly.
Official gap now 4.46 of a second. Very, very close. A little bit of a mistake from Fitzpatrick. He'll be looking just now for the first time this race. Got a lot of pressure on behind him. He did have Labardi behind at one point, but he didn't fight him too hard. He let Labardi go pretty easily. Now has Gallon right on his tail. This is race lead. We've got 30 minutes left. Round about 10 laps of racing to go when they cross the line.
Yep, definitely, and we saw in this DP class, it doesn't matter how quick you are, you cannot break slipstream here. So we're going to look at Gallon, who ducks. He's going to be pushed against the pit wall. There's contact, under brakes. Gallon gets to the inside. Fitzpatrick thinks about a crossover. Can he set himself up for a fantastic run? Gallon has a compromised exit. And look at Fitzpatrick, he's right on the gearbox. Neck and neck stuff as they filed towards turn 4 here. Side by side, who's going to be braver on the brakes? Gallon on the inside, Fitzpatrick around the outside. Fitzpatrick looks for a crossover. Gallon's exit is compromised. They're both sliding on the exit.
Patrick now has taken the race lead away once more over Luis Paulo Gallon. Bit of replay of that little touch into turn 1 as Gallon now takes the lead back again.
But Fitzpatrick on his second crossover of the lap. Thinks about it, but Gallon's gone wide, so he might be able to get it. They're going to go side by side almost into this next sequence of corners. You can easily get a move into any one of these corners, and Fitzpatrick wants it now. He needs that race lead. Gallon defends the inside, locking the rear slightly. Fitzpatrick can't do anything about that, but he's so close to Gallon. It's going to be on for young and old into turn 1 again.
Quickly get a replay of what happened in the turn 1 last time around, and then we'll go back live for them going through turn 1 once more. Big time game. Gallon coming down the front straight. Contact there between the guys. Side by side for the rest of the lap. Labardi's starting to catch them now too.
Fitzpatrick stays behind Gallon, so you're not missing anything on track right now. But as you say, Labardi is beginning to close these two, as these guys are just absolutely hurting each other for lap time right now as they go side by side anywhere they can.
Last lap around, 7/10 gain, Labardi. Now down to 1 seconds between Fitzpatrick and Labardi. Patrick, Gallon, 2.5 tenths.
They're all coming into traffic now. Oh, Gallon gets almost squeezed out of track there by the 23 GTE car. He goes around the outside, gets it done. Fitzpatrick has a much easier time of it, but this traffic could play into the hands of the Labardi even further. He's 1.8 seconds behind, but he only needs 8 more tenths. He's got the slipstream. This is a 3-car train potentially.
It's going to be an awesome battle with 10 minutes left on the clock. We thought the action couldn't get any hotter in this race. I think someone added some fuel to the fire.
I think someone added a fuel truck to this fire. This is incredible stuff. In GTE, Gianni Vecchio has run away from the rest of the field, and there's no fight happening throughout the podium because unfortunately something has happened to Elliott Biddle. So it's going to be Vecchio from Moser and Gorton in that class.
Pit stop for Biddle, so not sure what happened there. Battle between Marcian and Peisnick, that has definitely ended as well. But we're back to the
look at Peisnick and Neck though. GT3, yes. There's a fight for second.
Peisnick had a very, very quick up time, which was 4. Something has happened to him, so we'll go back to the front because look at these guys going down the back straight down the chute.
With Peisnick, it was contact with Marcin. He went for the race lead around the outside into turn 1 and just cut across Marcin a bit too much and turned himself into turn 1. So I've got to be honest, a bit of a silly move from John, but he still holds on to second position, and looks like that fight between him and Neck is beginning to deteriorate just a little bit. So I think we'll get back to the exciting DP class.
Stick with this for a bit longer. A half a second now between Gallon and Fitzpatrick. Labardi 1.8 seconds behind. Last lap around, all pretty much identical lap times. Gallon with the 5.7, a 5.9 and a 5.9. Buddy. Dance. I didn't have a bit of pressure applied once again from Gabriel Ruse. We saw these guys battling earlier in the race, and Dance pulled away. Ruse is back into it again.
No love lost between these two guys. Dance not too used to these cars, and we know Gabriel Ruse is very well used to these cars, so Cam Dance will have quite a mission holding Ruse back, but I'm sure he's more than up for it.
Pass down the front straight between Martin Silvassi and Way. Side by side coming through turns 1, 2 and 3. Way maintains the put that in the background behind Labardi. Battle for those guys. We'll go back to the front once more. Patrick. The interesting thing will be, did Patrick take enough fuel? We definitely know he was saving fuel purely based on the amount of draft he had in the first stint. Take a fairly short second stop. Wow, that was almost contact between he and Matthew Mann. There was nothing between those two guys then.
I think that might have been a little bit of hip and shoulder, but Sam Fitzpatrick, he wants this race win.
Definitely does. I think based on that move there, I think fuel's definitely not an issue.
Well, confidence on the brakes definitely isn't.
There's no way about that, but if fuel was an issue, he definitely pulled that move because he tucked in behind for one more corner and saved a little bit. But Fitzpatrick is wanting to get onto the tail of Lewis Gallon. We're going to have 6 to go when we cross the line here. Possibly 5, but likely.
I think with the pace these guys are running out front right now, they've got no choice but to go to 6 laps. These guys are using every inch of driving talent they have, and it's showing right now as we can see Gallon sliding the rears a little bit into turn 1, and Fitzpatrick just seeing that, wanting to close in ever so slightly. Gallon has incredible pace in these cars, but Fitzpatrick has the all-important slipstream at this point. Labardi has been affected by traffic, so he's currently on the back burner in 3rd, but Fitzpatrick is definitely wanting to stay into this slipstream.
Other battle starting to heat up, which we sort of looked at a little bit. The battle for 2nd in GTE is now on as well. So the battle for 2nd in GT3, battle for 2nd in GTE, and the battle for 1st in DP. So podium positions in every class under pressure. Moses being held up by John Peisnick, who's in his own battle. But the battles for GT3 and GTE, 2nds and 3rds, are all in at the same spot right now.
This is a fantastic circuit for racing. We're seeing that there. In one camera shot, we have a 5 for 2nd in GT3 and GTE. So fantastic stuff from all the GT classes out front right now. The GTEs slipstreaming each other into turn 1. He's not going to be able to try anything. But Moser looks like he might be under a bit of pressure from Gordon, who closes up massively on the brakes there.
Big issue there was Peisnick had the run too, and we know that the GT3s can brake a tiny little bit later than the Ferrari GTE cars. I was a bit worried that Peisnick was going to run into the back there of Andy Gordon.
Yeah,
Gladly it didn't happen.
Yeah, of course. We've seen a few incidents today of GT3s just not quite calculating where the GTE will be braking, but all guys there involved using the heads, which is fantastic to see. And the Jim racing car of Andy Gordon is putting on a pile of pressure now against Patrick Christoph Moser.
Great to see Ross Rizzo still pushing on. Currently in 4th. He's our Creates Online Feature Driver of the Week this week. He's still going along quite nicely. Not quite as good as we've seen him in other races, but Peisnick now starting to get a little bit of a break on Blake Neck for 2nd and 3rd. We'll go back to the battle for the GTE 2nd and 3rd. Moser and Gorton. This is the closest battle, and that was very, very wide from Moser. 5 minutes on the clock now.
So I was just keeping an eye on your DP field. Gallon actually got that lead out to 1.3 seconds, but on this lap has been hampered an awful lot by traffic. So that 1.3 seconds has gone out the window in just one lap.
It's now back down to half a second once again. So Fitzpatrick now right in the drafting zone once more. Actually will be hindered a little bit by that GTE car because Lewis Gallon would have got a bit of extra draft down the front straight, so we won't be able to close up quite as much as he would have liked. Now have 4 to go, 4 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock.
Look at the straight line performance of Sam Fitzpatrick. That was incredible as he slipstreamed the GTE car and got that gap down to Gallon to just 3/10.
Have a look at Andy Gorton here. He's got a run here as well. Andy Gorton is close enough. We'll have to watch coming onto the front straight. I wouldn't be surprised if Gorton can get a great exit out of the final corner. He might be able to make a move the next time around, but Moses doing a great job of defending, especially in this section of the track. Oh no, something's happened to Cameron Dance as well. Cam has spun. Try and pick up a replay next to Cut Price Racing. See what happened to Cam. So he was in 4th position batting with Gabriel Roos, and now he's back into 6th. Like he may have been involved. He might have done this one all by himself. He just outbraked himself. And as he's rejoined the track, he's just lost traction. Back live. Up Andy Gorton and Christopher Moser once again.
Braking hard for turn 1, and at the other end of the straight is your battle for the race lead as well. So we're about to have the 2 fights all coming into one camera shot very, very soon. Looking at 4 laps to go at the moment. So still plenty to play for in both classes, as Gorton and Moser are definitely still going at it. Can't think of a move into turn 4, so he has to hold station once more. But definitely looking very racy, and I wonder if he's saving something for the last lap.
Yeah, I think Andy Gorton's playing it a little bit smart here. He knows that he's got the pace, because he's definitely lapping very, very consistent in regards to the lap times. Been able to manoeuvre himself around the GT3 traffic a little bit better than Moser has. I've just heard a car either spin or have an incident out of camera shot. Can't quite see who that was.
I'm seeing some sorries in the chat from Cam Dance, potentially.
Stay with what we're watching though.
Doesn't look like Cam was involved in anything, so a bit of an odd one for us.
Patrick's lost a heap of time to Lewis Gallon as well while this has been going on. So this is the battle for 2nd and 3rd in the GTE field. Patrick Christoph Moser holding on from Andy Gorton, but Gorton's got to run here. These guys will cross the line and have 3 laps to go.
Yep, Moser had 2 wheels in the dirt on the exit of that final corner, which is so important for straight line speed into this corner. Gorton unable to capitalise as Marcin Scribespak does the honourable thing and gets out of the way, protects his own race lead in GT3 class. As Moser, once again, 2 wheels in the dirt. He is not doing any favours for his straight line speed.
Definitely have 2 laps to go. 1:30 on the clock, and the drivers have already passed the finish line. So we will have 2 more full laps of driving. So there's pretty much 3 laps left for these guys in this battle in GTE. The heaps of time left for Andy Gorton to get this move done on Patrick Christoph Moser. But fingers crossed for Moser, he can hold on, because he's been doing a great job of defending so far.
Fitzpatrick has lost a lot of time to Gallon, so much so that he has his mirrors full of Carlo Labardi. Cam Dance is unfortunately retired from the race, but up the inside goes Carlo Labardi. Dives it in there. Fitzpatrick has no answer to that unless he can cross over into here, but he cannot do it. So we thought that potentially Fitzpatrick had an answer for Luis Paulo Gallon, but instead he's lost out to Carlo Labardi.
At the moment now, we have every single class, 2nd and 3rd, fighting for position. Gorton's just got through.
Well, we did. Moser, was that 2 wheels in the dirt or even more? That's a lot more. That's all 4 wheels. Horrible exit, bouncing across the grass there, almost touching the Kimi Räikkönen guardrail. And that's a disaster for him, because he has not only lost that 2nd place, he's lost slipstream too.
Getting a Cut Price Racing replay of that now. That was just pressure from Gorton there. He just continually applying pressure, and well done to Moser to not clean the wall up, maintain as much speed as he did. Sam Fitzpatrick's in the lane. So remember, I did have a suspicion that maybe he was slightly short on fuel. I think I might be right.
That's going to hurt too. Gabriel Roos going across the start line now. Highlands coming through. That is a horrible mistake for Fitzpatrick. He's coming out now through the pit lane exit, but that one is going to sting.
We are on the final lap of the race. Lewis Gallon now currently has a 1.5 second lead over Carlo Labardi. Labardi looks like he's closing that gap.
And not slowly either. Labardi, he has incredible pace. So has Gallon done the same thing as Fitzpatrick?
There is a chance. 1.6 seconds at the moment, but I think that's closing.
Gallon definitely does not look like he's very, very quick right now, and even though he has a second at the moment, you have to remember the start-finish line is uphill. If he starts coughing, that's a lot of speed lost very quickly as he exits the final corner. Labate, can he magically pull this out of nowhere?
I think Gallon's got it. The way he's flashing the headlights, your style. I think he's okay. So Lewis Gallon will pick up the win here in the DP field. I can definitely call it now. He picks up the win in the DP field in this race. So well done to Lewis Gallon. Well done to Carlo Labate. Second position. Gabriel Ruse, he's off the track. I was just about to say, Gabriel Ruse will bring it home in third, but Sam Fitzpatrick's now made his way through after the unscheduled second pit stop, and he will bring it home in third. A probably well-deserved third as well after the race that he had, putting on some great action as well. Ruse will just hold on for fourth over Adam Hyland. Go to Gianni Vecchio. No, we won't. We'll go to Marcin Spizak.
They're both quite far away from the pit lane at the moment. So both our leaders have a lap of honour as they're not under any pressure at the moment. I say that, touch wood. We saw what happened to Gabriel Ruse, which was quite a dramatic finish. But Gianni Vecchio coming to the final sequence of corners. He's had quite the interesting race. He was leading out front, then he got dropped down a second, and he's found his way back here, Jay.
Yeah, he's done a great job. He's maintained, once he finally got into that race lead, which Dustin Hickman had for a good portion at the start of the race, maintained it and pushed on. Got that gap out quite a margin in the end and done a very, very good job. So pick up to the win in the GTE field. And tell you what, Marcin officially lapped the entire GT3 field because he's going to do one extra lap.
That's quite the dominant display there from Marcin. Just how traffic all worked out for him today. He's going to take a dominant victory here at Interlagos in your GT3 category in that Mercedes AMG GT3. Fantastic drive from him. He had a bit of pressure at the start, held his nerve perfectly, and drove a fantastic race.
Results on screen in the DP class. Lewis Carlo Labate in second, Patrick third, Gabriel Ruse in fourth, Adam Hyland fifth, Wayne Hewitt, Tate Marchi, Hideki, Cameron Dance, James Z. Over the page to Alan Holgerson. Race.
In your GTEs, in your GTEs, we have Gianni Vecchio taking that race win ahead of Andy Gordon, who took second place, ahead of Dustin Hickman, who comes out third in that class. Patrick Christoph Moser drove a fantastic race for fourth. He was fighting up the front for a lot of that portion, and Elliot Biddle with that unfortunate pit stop. Fabrice Cornelius comes home sixth with Junya Kitara, Tony Baird, Lewis Goodway, and Martin Silvassi rounding out your top 10. Paul Mansell, Alan Opilock, Dennis Feidler, Claude Lezard, David Jellings, and Leon Tander round out your 16 GTEs.
Awesome to see all of the GT field finish the race tonight. Very, very good effort for those guys. In GT3, Marcin too good from the rest of the field in the end. Picks up the win. I think the actual gap is 5 seconds over the field, although we did do an extra lap, so we can technically say won by our lap. John Peisnick in second position, Blake Neck third, Ross Rizzo fourth, Dodd Nowoski, Matthew Mann, Jesus, Reese Gersiel, and Matt Morris round out that field. But I'll tell you what, I'm actually the most impressed in every single car finished the race.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. That class can get a bit chaotic at times, but tonight everyone in that field used their heads. They were smart, drove fantastic races, and had some brilliant fights along the way. Just what we all want to see.
The next broadcast here at V8 Online will be Saturday night. We'll bring you the Australian 360 Sprint Car Championship from Eldora from 7 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. Then we'll have Sunday off for the first time since February. First Sunday off. First scheduled Sunday off, that is. Then on Monday night, we'll have the official V8 Super. Tuesday night, we'll have some special event as well. Wednesday night, of course, Formula Renault. Back next Thursday once more. I cannot remember the track off the top of my head, though.
Whatever it is, I'm sure it's going to be exciting. These cars are always producing fantastic racing. We love this series. Championship's beginning to heat up. Let's see what happens.
Thank you very much for tuning in. As I said, we'll be back online next Saturday, this Saturday night, a VIR for next round. Next broadcast will be on Saturday night. We will see you next time here at V8 Online. Thank you for watching.